Hello there, and welcome to the CP7 podcast. My name's Palm.
And I'm Andy.
And together, we are Chrono Passion 7. Hello, and welcome back to your favourite watch-related podcast. It's summer. It's time for concerts, festivals, and a few watch shows, like Oracle Time's Hands-On Horology and London Watch Week. But today we have two very special guests who, shall we say, started the daddy of them all. We've got Alistair and Katya from the British Watchmakers Alliance. How are you doing, guys?
Hello.
We're great. Thank you very much. Thanks for having us on the show, guys.
A pleasure from my side, Katya and Alistair, to have you on the show. Before we really get into it, there's always a really important question, maybe the most important question we ask, and that's what's on the wrist today. So let's go with Katya. Ladies first. What are you wearing today?
So I'm not wearing anything on my wrist today. I've actually got a pocket watch. We had a new member who joined recently, number 113. The alliance has grown quite a lot in the last few years. They actually make pocket watches based in Scotland. The company is called Delvey. And I've really been enjoying having a pocket watch. It's like a toy somehow. And usually I find pocket watches have a white dial, but this is a coloured blue dial, which in the summer just looks beautiful.
Yeah, I know. It's a Scottish brand. Yeah, I know it well.
Alistair?
Yes. So I'm wearing... Well, I've got quite a special watch, actually. So there's a bit of a story behind this. I'm actually wearing the prototype watch that Brooklands Watches have created for a joint venture they're doing with the Jockey Club to celebrate a horse called Golden Miller. Now, Golden Miller in 1934 was the only horse in history to win both the Grand National and the Cheltenham Gold Cup. And the horse is actually commemorated. When you go to Cheltenham to watch the races, they've actually got this massive bronze statue of Golden Miller. And a lot of people, they kind of, I think they touch the hoof, as they're going in for luck and so on. But Golden Miller, the horse, it was owned by a woman called Dorothy Paget. And I think a major influence in why the Jockey Club approached Brooklands to make this watch was that she was an investor and sponsor of Brooklands racing cars. She sponsored one of the main drivers there who actually set a record at the time. I think in 1929, it was just under 138 miles an hour, which still terrifies me to imagine. You can imagine driving something which looks like a glorified toaster and you're sitting with no seatbelt and you hit 137.96 miles an hour on a bank track. I mean, better people than me, to be honest. And then she met someone who was breeding horses and bought Golden Miller, which ended up having this incredibly successful career. So it's a hugely important horse in the racing fraternity. The Jockey Club wanted to partner with the Watch Club, and we're so happy they chose a British brand. I mean, this is the kind of thing where you would naturally assume it's going to go to one of the big Swiss brands, but they wanted to go British. And of course, there's such a lovely heritage and authenticity to working with a watch company that is named after and inspired by Brooklands. So it's a racing chronograph. It's absolutely stunning. I mean, it was designed by Sir Terence Conran. And in fact, it was the last design brief that Conran ever did before he passed away.
Wow. I
gather it's just been anointed as going into the design museum as one of the designs that Terence Conran did himself. I mean, obviously he had a huge studio and there have been other watch projects which were done by the studio, but this was done by Sir Terence himself. And so it's got great design provenance. I mean, it's a beautiful watch. It's got that lovely mid-century design aesthetic. It's absolutely stunning. I think they're priced at about £6,800.
Okay.
So it's, proper viable mid-luxury price point, but it's a hell of a lot of watch, when you hold it. So I feel quite honored, I've actually got the prototype here. So very kind of them to lend this to me. Well, I think I said they were giving it to me. I'll just say that so we can...
just don't give it back, yeah.
It was a gift. Yes.
I think it was a gift to you, yeah. Okay, we could say that, yeah.
I think we've got the same deal with Dalvey, yeah, absolutely. In fact, most watches, yes, we basically purloin under the cover of needing them for a podcast, So
excellent.
No, I think I'll have to give this one back, guys, sadly, but beautiful.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Terence Conran designed that. Wow. Very stylish.
Yeah, 2 subdials. No, it really is beautiful. Oh, the case back's really interesting because, you know, the lucky number 7. So there are 7
that's us.
little sapphires in there, and they are the same colours as the racing colours of Golden Miller. So I don't know if you'll pick that up.
Very nice.
Yeah. There's so many, I call them Easter eggy type details.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really are.
So was that designed in the 60s? It's got a very 1960s kind of look to it.
Well, it does. And I mean, that's very astute of you, Palm. I mean, Conran is obviously, probably best known for being one of the doyens of 1960s British design. You know, founding Habitat, he introduced the notion of that kind of elegant, more minimal mid-century design to the British Isles at a time, during that post-war period when it was chintz. And so Conran really helped us become a bit more European in our design approach, and really, really fired during the 60s, that sort of period of, I suppose, renewed confidence that was in the swinging 60s with the music scene, with film, and obviously, with fashion. And, when you think Mary Quant, Bieber and Verushka and people like that. And then, of course, Conran came along, bringing this wonderful design aesthetic to the masses and making it accessible through Habitat. So you're absolutely right. I mean, it is for me, it's just got that. It's very mid-century, very 60s for sure, and I think very true to the Conran aesthetic. Yeah,
and a very stylish edge to it. It's not a typical 1960s. It's got a little bit of an edge to it, a stylish edge, I'd say, just the way it's just from the symmetry.
One little detail I love is, and again, this is, just part of the extra detail they've gone to, is I love the way the dial is banked, just the way the Brooklands track is, so it's just a really
it's cool.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's a stunning piece of work. And I as I say, just really proud, that a British brand has been anointed by the Jockey Club to commemorate probably one of the most important horses in British racing history, and they've kicked it out of the park. It's an absolutely stunning watch. So really, really proud.
Excellent. So it's going to be hard to upstage that, but what I will say before we move on, make sure to check out the show notes over on www.chronopassion7.com, where you can see all of the pieces we discussed today, because the attention is definitely in the detail, and you definitely need a closer look at all of these pieces. But without further ado, Palm, what's on your wrist today?
What am I wearing? I am wearing a watch I bought at the show, at the Alliance show that was in March or April. When was it? March. Yeah. Gosh, it's been a while. Yeah, in March. Yeah. So it's the Arcan Alterum. It's the speakeasy version. So this cannot be showed on social media, apparently. I mean, you can if you want. It's your property. But they ask you to refrain from social media publishing of it. What really sold me, I saw the Alterum before, and it's very similar to this, obviously, but it's this Cerakote. It's almost a khaki greeny brown ceramic coating. And I went to see Anoma, who were next door to Arcan. This is the actual story behind this watch. And he was busy. So I was thinking about Arcan, I won't lie. And then I saw Ken, who you must know very well. And and he said to me, "Oh, how's it going?" I've said, "Oh yeah, just come see your watches. I love the watches." And then he goes, "Right, okay, I got something for you." And then he goes, he had this little pouch which he opened up. I had no intention of. I just went to look at Anoma and had no intention of really getting anything. And on the spot, I put my order in. Literally, right, I'm taking it. It was just, and that's what the show was like as well, which we'll get into a bit later on. But yeah, that's what I've got on my wrist, the Arcan Alterum Speakeasy. I
really love what he's doing actually with Arcan, and I think what I like about that is when I look at it, I don't know why, but I sort of imagine a 22nd century military watch. It just looks
you must look like like out of some futuristic army movie or something, fighting Terminators or something like that.
Yeah. I love it.
It was nice to get a glimpse of it because even I haven't seen it.
Have you not? Okay.
Okay.
No, I've seen everything. Well, most of them, but I haven't. No. Yeah.
It's that colour of the. I mean, it's got a GMT function as well. I haven't even talked about the watch. It's 39mm. It's got a very unique case shape. I think it kind of reminds me of the Timex Iron Man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And he's pulled it off in a mechanical watch so well. It's got a Myoto movement, but for £700, it's a real good deal. And a GMT function and that textured dial as well. He's just, the attention he's put into that. And you change the date with this little pusher here as well. There's a little pusher at 4 o'clock. Just a really, really cool. And as you say, Ken, really cool guy. You just...
Yes.
Yeah, friendly guy and very cool.
We often end up seeing him sort of betwixt and between hotel to the venue.
Yeah, we always have a long chat.
Yeah, so that's usually our opportunity to get a chat because everyone's so busy, of course. And you're conscious, you want to, so desperate to speak to everyone and check in because it's the one moment we get to do that. But of course, by the same token, you don't want to cost a sale.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Come on, Andy, what have you got?
Yeah, come on, Andy.
Yeah, so... in honour of the show, I'm wearing my grandfather's Vertex, so it was handed down to me.
Oh.
And it's a classic cushion case. It's engraved on the back for 25 years of service at the Yorkshire Metal Works, which is...
Oh, isn't that fantastic?
Yeah, it's a
how
nod...
long has your father had it for?
His grandfather.
Grandfather.
My grandfather, yeah. So sometime the watch is maybe, gosh, I don't know, maybe 50s, 60s. But what's nice, it connects me obviously to my bloodline, but also where I come from as well, which I really appreciate. But yeah, it almost reminds me of the Fears, like Brunswick, the cushion case and shape, but obviously at a smaller size. And I believe it's maybe a Denison case as well, who've made a big resurgence.
You know, they were one of, part of that kind of sad decline, really. I mean, they ended up shutting shop in 1967 and they were our last case maker. And of course, people tend to forget they were making cases for the big, a lot of big Swiss brands as well. Yeah. So a sad loss. So that's an amazing piece of history. Not only, your family, Andy, but the watch as well. And you're right. It's reminiscent of Fears because my immediate thought was I can imagine it's the sort of watch Don Draper would wear in Mad Men. It's got that lovely
it's that vibe,
50s, elegant, look to it. And I'm a big fan of cushion shaped watches, actually.
Yeah, me too.
They tend to be a bit Marmite, I find. Do you?
Yeah.
But I absolutely love cushion shaped watches. I really do.
Don, not the Draper, but Don Cochrane will be very happy to hear that you treasure the watch and that it's doing exactly what it should be doing, going through generations.
It doesn't miss a beat as well. It never misses a beat. Like every time I set it, like it's always correct.
Has Don seen the watch?
No, he hasn't. Not as of yet. But hopefully, we might have a show actually coming up.
We're in negotiation.
Negotiation. Maybe the watch will win him over.
Yeah, maybe the watch will win him over. Yeah, if we don't.
But yeah, I'd say the last thing on this Vertex is you don't see many anymore because a lot of them were unfortunately melted down for the gold value. Because people were just like, no, it's engraved, it's not sellable, we'll give you the gold, we'll melt it down. And the fantastic watches and the movement it's as good as any, it's superb. Yeah, big fan.
Fantastic. Do you know what movements they were deploying in those days?
I don't on this one. I've seen when my watchmakers serviced it, I saw a picture of it, a little video of the movement, but I didn't dig into the details of like if it's Vertex's own movement from that era or if it was produced, by a different manufacturer. I'd have to dig a little bit deeper to get those details.
What's another thing to talk about with Dawn?
Yeah,
another question. Write that down.
Yeah. Hopefully it's a Rolex movement. That'd be nice.
Well, maybe. I suppose the ideal scenario. Maybe it was a Smiths Industries movement.
That's true. Yeah.
You never know. I mean, they were around till 79. Sorry, I'm basically an oracle for when British manufacturers closed down. It's
oh really? Okay, well, you know a lot of stuff. So. Yeah.
No, it's good. It's fascinating because I'm learning things about this which I didn't know.
Yeah, so. Kind of, we're going to start listening. We're just going to listen to you now. That's it.
Yeah, you just take over. Yeah, we just listen.
That and when the albums have been released and the tracks have been, on
we
which
can
chart
see.
And what year, that we know, but we don't know the phone numbers of the family.
No. I don't know family names really. So, But if you need to know the release date of a rare progressive rock album, I'm your man. Yeah.
Ah, cool. Okay.
I'll tell you, Alistair, when we first met at the Watchfinder event, with the Roger Smith one, with Andrew Morgan, he was hosting it. I used to think you were like a record producer from like back in the day or something, just like, because you had that seriousness, but then that coolness, just with itness as well, which I thought you like your music.
Right. I'm a bit worried about back in the day. I mean, how far back in the day?
80s.
Yeah. I was going to say.
Yeah. Oh, no, not the 60s. No, that's just the watches.
Yeah, something like Vera Lynn's producer. I'll take that one. And no, I've never been that cool. No, sadly. But I do collect the music.
You burst my bubble there, then. I told everyone I met.
Appreciation for music. In fact, so big as about 2,000 records.
Wow.
Worth of appreciation.
Wow.
Yeah, may I just say that's not my colleague speaking. That's my wife. That's a typical wife. You can hear the loaded.
You don't need any more vinyls. Yeah.
Being married, I know that.
The good thing is that what I'm pretty good at is actually lying through my teeth when I tell how much I've paid for records. So I'm pretty adept at that. So
no, it's not a bad addiction.
No.
We all love music.
Yeah,
you're the first couple on our show. So this is a first on the Chrono Passion 7 podcast. Hopefully you don't fall out, but
we'll probably hold off bickering for at least another 15 minutes. So,
quick, get the questions in.
Right, where were we? I forgot. I don't even know where we were. Okay.
And the wrist check.
So let's move into some questions about yourselves. The British Watchmakers Alliance, it's a partnership between the two of you. How do your roles, who's the driving force? Who's the creative one? How does it all work with this family setup that you two have got?
Gosh, that's okay. Well,
I think
it needs to be answered very diplomatically, doesn't it? Now, if I'm going to have a continued marriage, do you know? Funnily enough, I was having a similar conversation earlier with someone, and I was just commenting that we always say we're really fortunate because we love doing what the other hates doing, and so I suppose. My role is very, very much strategy. I mean, that's where I come from. That's basically what I do. And from the original founding ideas for what the Alliance could be, when Mike France and Roger Smith famously met at Salon QP and discussed, there was clearly something happening in the sector, something needed to be done to help promote it. And so my role as co-founder was, well, okay, what could that be? What does it look like? So that was a classic gap analysis, bit of a horizon scan on who was out there and what was going on. And the idea, well, we needed a trade body. We needed something to help guide this resurgence and support it and provide a magnet to which all these brands could hopefully come together and align and work together. So very much about strategy and I suppose ideas. My background is creative work as well. Shall I speak for you and then you can disagree with me?
My background is marketing as well, but more the execution side of things. I think I have pretty cracking ideas as well occasionally.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
No,
there.
she does. There's no doubt about it.
But generally, like PR and events is what I've always done. Well, most of my life. There was a bit of a deviation into personal training at some point, but then I veered back into marketing.
She came back to the dark side.
Yeah.
For a moment, she was actually helping people. Yeah. And then
she's now fooling them. Now she's tricking them all.
Yeah.
Excellent.
As big as the events could be, I do really enjoy pulling various things together.
I think it's fair to say Katya is astonishingly good at organizing. That's not just a platitude. I mean, you can see it when you go, the evidence is there with British Watchmakers Day. I mean, we're a tiny team, obviously, pulling that together to pull off an event of that scale, 1,300 guests, 45 exhibitors. And also, I always think it's really important to remember, it's a one-day event, but it's a 4-month campaign. So you've got this build-up that we have over time, launching the special editions and really building up anticipation for the event and then executing it. And I honestly don't know how you do it, to be honest, because
I think that's why everyone has different personalities. Like you guys like presenting. soon as you put microphone in front of my face, I just freeze and my knees start shaking. Yeah, I was, just in school, I just
But not
really
today,
struggled
obviously.
with public. No, this is not going on stage. Alistair can easily do. I think, we all have our strengths and what we good at, and I'm feeling really lucky to have ended up in working for the Alliance and in the watch sector, because it's just such an incredible sector. So many interesting people, so much passion. I've never worked in any sector where there was so much passion, and you make proper friends in the sector. It's not kind of almost doesn't feel like work. It feels like part of your life. I've really been enjoying this.
No, it shows, and the reason why I asked that was I've been to a couple of events now. One was the Time and Tide British Watchmakers event you did at Andrew McCutcheon's place, and you both had different dynamics in the show. You could see Alistair would be mixing with the crowd, Katya would be getting everything organised in the background, like you say. And at the British Watchmakers Day, you both had you were obviously all involved, heavily involved, making sure everything went ahead. But you could see that you both had a different job to do, and it worked so well. And I think that's what made the show even better. It's like it's a family affair. And I think that appeals to many others as well, that the fact, and your son was there as well, your very handsome young son, he was there as well. It made the whole thing a nice place to be. The warmth from that, I think, really resonates and makes people, well, if Andy's looking for reasons to come next year, that's one of them.
Actually, it's a family affair for many brands. Quite a few of our brands, you've got husband and wife working together. At least 5 who I know, 6 actually. Even, with Roger Smith, Caroline is very involved. She's an equal partner.
Yeah.
Plenty like Halicorn and William Wood, and Jose has always got his wife.
Yes, we know Jose well. We know him very well. Yeah,
she's getting stuck in selling watches.
And then quite often, if they're not actually at the show, you know that they're back office, they're helping their family members back office. And I think that, yeah, you've hit on something there, Palm, actually, that I think is really quite profound, because I think it's not just the accessibility of the founders, the ability for people to meet the people behind their watches, but it's also, I think you're right, understanding that they are very family-driven businesses so many times. And
we've got Sinclair Harding. Bob employs his whole family. Him and wife work hand in hand. And then all of his daughter is running operations. And then he's got his son-in-law, and all of them, if you look on the websites, Bray. And he's already having an eye looking at his grandchildren, I think.
He's training them up, is he? To make those clocks that he makes. They're absolutely amazing. Yeah. Okay. So
they're magnificent, aren't they? And I think in some respects, clockmaking is a bit of a Cinderella. I think it's a Cinderella that's getting more and more attention, though, as well in the sector. And having Bob there, I think, is really important, because it's a reminder just what can be achieved in clockmaking and horology. So he's amazing. But as Katya says, I mean, it's incredible. I honestly recommend anybody go to the Sinclair Harding website, and you'll just see the name profiles, and everyone's called Bray. So it's an exemplar of just how family driven this is. But I think also as well, Katya said, you do make genuine friendships. It's such a friendly, convivial place to be. And, you talk about us bringing our son. We have to, because we don't have childcare.
Oh,
and so
I thought he was raring to go.
We've had to give him a kind of baptism of fire, basically coming to the show. And we give him a job. Last year, he manned the cafe on setup day for trade members. This year, he went out, and it was quite funny. He was looking for something to do, and he noticed there were piles of magazines. So he took it upon himself to go handing them out.
Oracle Time. Yeah, he was handing out Oracle Time. And I remember him coming up to me, and I had one already because I was subscribed.
Yes.
And but when he was giving it out to someone and they took one, he got so happy. He had this big smile on his face. And that, again, precious moments like that, I think you don't see it. Watches and Wonders and Geneva Watch Days or anything like that. That's a really, really nice, heartwarming part of the event that you put on.
Dare I say it, Palm, I think with Oracle Time in particular, for a 10-year-old, I think just relieving himself of the weight of the magazine was probably one of the reasons.
It's probably no wonder, he's probably asleep after the event.
A lot of value.
Talking about Oracle Time, are you coming on Saturday?
I was supposed to, but Unfortunately, I've had to pull out because I've got a family event, a last-minute family event. I've got family coming down from Dubai, and my nephew is turning 8 years old, and it's his birthday, and he wants me to come, and it's my wife's favourite nephew, so I can't not go. I did have a ticket. I got one of the VIP tickets as well, so it's a shame, but there were a lot of brands there that I wanted to see. But
I'm really looking forward to it, because at British Watchmakers Day, I don't actually have a chance to look at the watches because I'm just running around. There's always something that needs fixing, doing. But just getting a drink and going around and exploring the watches like a normal punter, at British Watchmakers Day, I'm really looking forward to it.
Let everyone else do the hard work.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
So that'll be very nice.
It really, I mean, it's a high pressure day, as you can imagine, for us both. I mean, particularly, with Katya having to keep an eye on all the organizational aspects and things that, just come up. My own role ends up tending to be very much about welcoming, we get VIP guests from government, for instance. So, because a big part of my job is making sure that government and, the Department for Business and Trade, the Great Campaign, obviously I'm an ambassador of that anyway, but that they're aware of the British watchmaking sector and that we're on speed dial when they're looking at doing a trade mission, that we can be a part of that. And this year, I was really chuffed. We had Guillaume Adam, who's my counterpart CEO at France Horologerie. He came. He made the trip from Paris, and it was really nice to see, actually, because I could tell he was, quite quietly impressed with not so much the show, but what was happening in the British sector. And I think he was, I noticed him reflecting a few times, and I don't think he quite realized just how resurgent we are as a nation. But to be able to showcase that, it's our one day of the year when, if we're going to get people to come and become aware of British watchmaking, see what we're doing, that's got to be it. It's our one chance. So I do invite a lot of people from basically our broader stakeholder group of government, other trade bodies, partner trade bodies. So, we work very closely with the National Association of Jewelers, for instance. We've put together an allied trades group with them to cover jewelry, silversmithing, engraving, the London Hallmark offices there, goldsmiths, and the diamond bourse, and so on. So, and again, that's trying to collectively give us a more powerful voice, because even collectively, we're still a relatively small sector, but at least we can make a bit more noise and lobby on behalf of our members.
Yeah. No, it's good. It was you flew the flag high that day, and you have done for 2 years, I think. Brilliant. Excellent work.
Well, thank you, Paul.
Thanks.
So I think that leads very nicely into one of my first questions, which is, as we know, unfortunately, I'm definitely a proud Brit, but I've missed the last two shows just due to life and work here. What would you say to convince me to go next year? And not just me, of course, but we have a listener base all over the world now. One of our biggest part of our listener base is over in the States. So what would you say to encourage myself, but also our listeners, to make sure to get across at the next year's event? What would you say is, I think a lot of the magic's already been highlighted, but beyond that, what would you add to that?
Well, Andy, if you have a listener base in the US, and hello, US listeners, we get a lot of visitors over to British Watchmakers Day from the USA. I mean, I was amazed. As you may remember, the queue started at 5 o'clock in the morning this year, which is absolutely incredible. And by the time we got to about 8 a.m., I just felt I've got to go out and meet some people and say hello and welcome them. Basically act as warm-up comedian, just to try and keep it going.
Get the crowd going.
It was amazing because within the first sort of 10 meters of the queue, or 20 meters of the queue, I'd met a couple from South Korea, at least 3 people from the USA, from different parts of the US, someone from Costa Rica, someone from Singapore. It was such an international group of people who'd got there early and were really stoked up about the day. So Andy, what I would say is, yes, you will meet a lot of American collectors when you come to British Watchmakers Day, and we're just delighted and humbled, that people will make the journey
Yeah,
to come to the
every
event.
morning on both days, British Watchmakers Day mornings, I wake up and I say to Alistair, "Are you sure people will come?" And then it's like every time. But you just you're doing the work, and then you're hoping like, well, I hope people
What if it's-
really gonna come and enjoy it. And then I saw a lot of people came first time round and traveled from the US as well, and it's just great, such a pleasure. Who was that? We keep forgetting, but someone described it as Coachella of the British
it was,
watchmaking world.
Yeah, Lillian, who's a writer for Forbes.
Yes.
Okay.
Really interesting. I did an interview with Lillian, and she wrote a fantastic article, actually, post-event. And she travelled from New York, and she was quite honest and open. She said, "I'll be honest, I'm quite snobby, and I thought that my piece would be a bit of a debunking. I'd come along and basically reflect on us being nothing more than jumped up Brits with trestle tables." And and she came in, and dare I say it, if she listens, hopefully she'll agree with this. No one evangelizes more than a convert. And I think that what happened, she came and realized that the very accessibility of our watch brands and the founders being there and just being no dress code, no champagne, just come in and appreciate watches with your friends. And she realized, and it was Lillian who said, I realized the difference was your Coachella. That's where British watchmaking sits. And I think it's a really, really nice analogy for where we are. So Andy, yeah, you'll meet Americans. You'll come and see something completely different. It's the most convivial atmosphere. You'll make friends, and let's not forget the main event. You'll see some amazing watches because so many of our brands now have supported the notion of producing special editions just for the day. And that I think has really helped to define the event.
I think also what Pam said, you come in looking for one, and then you just discover so many more brands, and there are new brands coming up every month, pretty much. We have new members joining, and sometimes you look and you think, oh my God, this is something very different and very special. And then, they haven't really grown that much, but they take a smaller stand at British Watchmakers Day, and then they kind of don't look back because, gosh, that's been a hit. So, like you came with Arkin Watch, and you haven't, you knew about Arkin, but you haven't seen it, and you haven't thought about buying one, but you did, and you've discovered something really new and cool. So I think that as well. But also, if you look around the stands, unlike some of the other events, all of the founders are there. Yeah. And the founders have become a bit of, like special characters, aren't they? People follow them, and they've got really interesting stories. So, if you come to the show, you'll see pretty much all of the founders at the show, and you can kind of ask them, how did you come up with the idea, and hold the watch right there. We don't also have watches under massive glass cabinets. I always feel a bit awkward coming in because, especially when I just started in the sector, I wanted to learn more about watches, but I come to glass cabinet and you feel a bit awkward. Well, can I have a look at it? And you feel a bit, well, can I? And you can't handle it. And so most, apart from, I'd say, Roger Smith, and most watches you can handle, look at, try on. And I think that's why they sell so well there as well.
Yeah, hands-on is the most important part, I'd say, especially for public as well, because you have these other events, and a lot of the time press have the privilege of having more of a hands-on, but then the public don't. And at the end of the day, who's buying the watches? So it is important that the public get that hands-on. Yeah. Well, look, you've definitely sold it to me. The only part where I'm concerned, in all honesty, is I might end up spending money like Pam. And I'm a Yorkshireman, and I'm tight, so that's my worry.
Well, Bob Ray's a Yorkshireman. You can go and stand with Bob at the Sinclair Harding.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Perfect, yeah.
He's as Yorkshire as they get, I think.
Yeah, we go and put the welter right in the corner somewhere. Yeah. No, it sounds great, honestly. Yeah, brilliant.
But on that note, really, whether you have a big budget or a small budget, we give space to lots of brands, from real small startups to big brands, and price ranges go from, well, when they had Accurist, from probably about
£130.
Yeah, something like that.
£130. And I think that's, I mean, that's a very, very important point. I think that you can start your collecting journey from, in Britain, from £130, £120, right up to a Roger Smith. And I think that's one of the more interesting and defining aspects of the British sector is we do have that incredible range. I think that, and we're starting to see now, I think more, one or two of our mid-price luxury brands are now starting to get into, using precious metals and starting to create more premium watches. So genuinely, you've got a watch pretty much for every wrist and every pocket. And I think that's something that you really do see on the day. I think the other point Katya just made as well, we really wanted to try and make the show accessible to the smallest brands possible. And so that was the reason for the brand bar. The idea behind that is that, it's not a huge space, but they can be there and it's an opportunity. And genuinely several of the brands have really launched that they've had a change in fortune from that moment.
Wow.
Simply because they've got something interesting. People have cottoned onto it. They fall in love with the brand and they've done incredibly well. And I always think British Watchmakers Day is kind of Darwinism in a day. You really do see it. If you've created a special edition that really connects, you're going to have an incredible day.
Yeah.
If you haven't, and I think this year we had a couple of reversals of fortune where one or two brands had done incredibly well the year before, and they'd not connected quite so well this year. And then there was the other way around. Some hadn't connected quite as well in 24. They did amazingly well in 25. And what that means is it's kind of, you're almost doing your beta test on the consumer in one day. And I think it's an opportunity that even if, and I have to say, there weren't many that didn't do incredibly well, but if you don't in that circumstance and with that frenzy of interest with collectors, then you've got to look in the mirror and say, what am I doing wrong here? That in itself is really important intelligence, because you could save yourself a year of folly, basically, if you've got your product slightly wrong, or the aesthetics are slightly wrong, or the offer or the price or whatever component might not be working. British Watchmakers Day is definitely going to show that up.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity, therefore, to steer course very, very quickly. But thankfully, it was amazing. I think this year we did about £700,000 in special editions.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This year at British Watchmakers Day.
It's an interesting perspective, and it's coming from a different perspective as well, because from a brand, like you mentioned, it's just they can try something bold and different and exhibit the piece there, get the initial reaction, and as you say, if it's a hit, they can take it forward. If not, they go back to the drawing board and save a lot of money. So yeah, I think it sounds equally as important for the brands as it is for public enjoying the event as well. It's a mutual benefit, I'd say. Yeah, it sounds brilliant. A
question for Palm, actually, if you don't mind. Palm, obviously you were there. Did you get the feeling I did that it really felt like people had upped their game this year?
It felt different this year. I have a question regarding this. It felt familiar. It felt more familiar. Everyone, like I said, in a short period of time, 2 years, it had become a thing. It had become a place in the calendar, British Watchmakers Day. Again, 2 years in a row, people sending WhatsApp messages of the queues. Oh my God, the queue's going here. And it was just a fervour in a positive way. And I think that's just before you've got in. And then once you're in, it was, I think at first, last year was kind of like, okay, what do we do now? We're here. We're in. It was a very well publicised show. Everyone wants to be here. Such an amazing event. And then you got there and you were kind of like, okay, now what do we do? And it was very easy to just fall into it because there was just so many brands. You take a sidestep 10 inches and you're talking to another brand. So it was just, there was so much to do, I think, in the first year. And in the second year, I think the familiarity was there. So a lot of people were a bit more calmer and more confident and a bit more, especially people I spoke to as well. Everyone knew what they were doing. I mean, the whole thing with the fears, the gimlets as well, that was a nice touch. And then you had Adrian Barker and then you had Time and Tide, with the donut watch pouch. I think it was a nice change. It was a nice shift. And the question I was going to ask you on that is, what did you learn from last year that you changed this year in a positive way? What did you think? Right, okay, we need to improve on that, and we do it. And how do you feel for next year? Do you think there's more to add to that?
We're always trying to improve. I mean, I think we're going to have a few more brands for the next one by just literally thinking a bit more clever about how we move the stands around the hall. I mean, for the first one, it felt a lot busier, but actually we had exactly the same number of people because, I mean, I take it as a personal mission to fill up every single space. So every person who drops out, we fill it straight in. So that everybody gets a chance, and if we've sold out tickets, as literally we can't fit anymore because Lindley Hall won't let it because it's a great to list building. But we just move things around a bit to make a bit more space for the crowd.
I did find it was a bit more easier to move around this year.
Yeah. So we just, just a few little tweaks. But we had a waiting list of the brands, and it's so frustrating to say no. But of course, it's only as many as you can fit. But we've made an effort this time with a slightly different plan, and we will fit another 5 or 6 brands, which allows those who really wanted to exhibit a chance to do it. And, it's great to bring fresh brands in as well. And then we'll try and get a few more tickets out as well by just maybe adjusting the timings a little bit. We've improved coffee. Yes, everyone was happy with coffee. Thanks to Bark and Jack. Yes, they came in. They promised the best coffee ever, and they delivered.
Yeah, they were. I think what was quite difficult for us actually, Palm, was that with the first one going so incredibly well.
Yeah.
In a way, you don't learn anything as well. You end up with that sense of, oh my gosh, I hope we're not a sort of one-hit wonder here. And what are the learnings that we can take forward? Well, the learnings are technically you can repeat what you've done to a great extent. And of course, to many extents, that was what happened. And apart from the tweaks, but I think the big thing was a show's only as good as its exhibitors. And I think part of the sense of moving on, just listening to what you were saying, was the very fact that we're open to ideas. And so when Time and Tide came along and said, look, we'd like to come in and do what we're doing, Bark and Jack came in and said, look, we'd like to do barista level coffee. Well, it's happy days for us because I think that had been one issue the year before, last year. And I think also you started to see the brands doing more, so Boken had their artists. And I think that, this was really what I meant by upping their game. I think both at a product level, I just got a sense that the watches have moved on a little bit. They just felt that the finish, the creativity, all felt like they just shifted up a gear. And I think in 26, what I'd like to see is the brands playing with it even more. There's got to be a sense of the brands can see, and I talk about Darwinism, they can see who's doing a really amazing job in the hall on the day. And you've got to say, okay, well, what can we do? How can we match that? How can we up our game? And as the organisers, that's fantastic, because if there's an arms race for event creativity happening among the exhibitors, well, they're doing our job for us to a great extent. And if the likes of Time and Tide, Bark and Jack, Chrono Passion, guys, come on.
Passion 7.
Come along and we're a sandpit to come and play in.
Yeah.
Ultimately, for exhibitors, for media partners and so on. Come and play. And in doing that, you're making the event that much better for the attendees. And we're just open to, we are open to ideas. I think that the hardest thing we have to litigate for is making sure that everything's fair as far as we can make it. You're always going to get that sense of, well, they did this or they did that. And that's something that, we have to consider fairness ultimately. But by the same token, you've got to be open to new ideas. And I think that was a major aspect of why 25 felt like it had relaxed a bit, but also moved on because people were playing with it a bit more. It was a bit more playful. And look, that's something that is so quintessentially British. It's being creative, thinking of new ideas, seeing things differently, and taking the base gravy and adding spice to make a nice curry.
Moving it forward. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, excellent analogy there. Just a quick one. I know Andy's got a lot of questions on the Alliance. Poor Andy didn't actually go to the show. But one thing I just want to ask is going back to that family vibe to it. And it's the kind of atmosphere where I think people could bring their partners, their wives, their husbands, their boyfriends, whatever, their children, if they wanted to. It's got the right atmosphere to do it. But in terms of the venue, I don't think you could get that many people into it. To get more people, would you consider a larger venue, or do you think that the buck will stop there?
From our perspective, I mean, look, we're a not-for-profit organisation. That does give us the advantage that this isn't a commercial enterprise for us. It's not allowed to be because of the very nature of the alliance. But on the other hand, not-for-profit doesn't mean let's make huge losses. And I think that we have to be very cognizant of the economics moving up to a new venue. Don't get me wrong, Katya's even scouted. It's always something that's on our radar. But it's going to be ultimately about timing. At the moment, we can make it just about work.
Yeah.
Let's not forget, we charge a very low ticket price, or for our club members, it's free entry. So we're not making much income from that. We try to keep the stand costs down as far as we can, to the extent that we even subsidize the brand bar stands. So it does mean that because of the very nature, and I think a lot of the things that work about the show also make it harder for us to look at expanding and growing it. But we're ambitious people. I mean, it's in our blood to be ambitious. So, I mean, never say never, Palm, for sure. And I think that we do feel in some respects we are creaking at the seams already in some respects. Katya said, we've got a waiting list of exhibitors. The problem is we haven't got quite big enough a waiting list to us to say, hey, let's take
justify that
1.5 times size venue yet. So I think 26 will definitely be at the Lindley Hall again.
Okay.
But let's watch this space and see how it evolves.
Whatever you do, I'm sure it'll be onwards and upwards, right?
Yeah, and just to round it up, we don't take the support of everyone who comes to the show and all our supporters for granted. I personally always want everyone to have a great time, from our exhibitors to our partners and you and our other partners, our Scottish Watches and Time and Tide and the magazines, Oracle Time and Watch Pro. I mean, it's always great support from them, and lots of people kind of working together to get this British watchmaking sector out there.
Well, this comes back to, I mean, you always roll your eyes when I keep talking about British watch culture, but that's, for me, what we're building. It's not just about brands selling watches. My goal is to build British watch culture, and that's all of us. We're all part of that. And I think because that's the core ethos, I think that's one of the reasons why British Watchmakers Day maybe does feel a bit different and accessible, because what we're trying to promote is this notion, whether you're a collector, whether you're in the media, whether you're a brand, whether you're a trade body like we are, ultimately we're all in it together. And that's why I think there's such a great sense of conviviality and easy access around it.
Yeah, and that's why Andy needs to come. He'll feel that once he's get him in Lindley Hall, and he'll know exactly. You'll know exactly.
I'll be there next year.
What we'll have to do, maybe we can get all your listeners to agree, and we'll do it as well. Let's all ignore Andy when he comes.
It won't be too hard.
I won't pick him up from the airport.
Yeah, that's standard anyway, right? No, I'm joking. Brilliant. Yeah. So I'd like to get more into the Alliance side and maybe go back to the starting foundational days and where it is today. Like how's the growth been of the Alliance, as in terms of like onboarding new brands, partnerships, and also like memberships? Are you seeing that grow? Like, it certainly sounds like this, but it's grown further afield. It's not just like British watch collectors, but there's members now of the Alliance from, all around the world. Just a bit of shed some light on that would be great. From the beginning, Andy, I think in some respects what it reveals is actually just how little we knew. Roger Smith, Mike France and myself, we had a bit of a sweepstake on how many brands we thought were out there. I mean, we were literally shining a torch at our feet walking down a dark tunnel, basically. You could do a bit of desk research and so on, which I'd done. And so we agreed, we thought, well, maybe there's about 25 companies out there. And we launched at basically November 1st, 2020. And by December, we'd already got about 35 members. I mean, it was absolutely incredible.
The word got out. I think there was a lot of pent up appetite for this in the trade. There had been talk about, well, wouldn't it be great if, it was just great that we happened to be the ones who did it. But I could never have believed that we'd be talking now with 114 members. We're just currently onboarding a couple. Part of that growth has actually been in the last 5 years due to the sheer number of startups that have been emerging. And I think that both speaks to the resurgence of the sector, but also how many people are sufficiently passionate to think, well, I want to create my own watch brand. And look, there are going to be winners and losers. I mean, it's a tough world out there. And I think that you've got several brands. Thankfully, we've got a good number of brands who are doing things right. They're very good at what they do. They're committed. And I think above all, they're not doing it as a kind of a vanity project. They're really committed to building a brand. And you've got to look at people like Christopher Ward, I think, in particular. When you've got a CEO, founder like Mike France, let's not forget, Mike is a captain of retail industry. He's come from dealing with big numbers and big issues. And so Mike's never been frightened about talking about the sector getting to £1 billion at some point. Yeah. And I think when brands see Christopher Ward, it's not just that they've become a very successful brand and are our biggest brand now, biggest exporter, but they become an exemplar model. There's a sense of, well, hang on a minute, if they can do that and crash through, I think last year they reported 35 million in turnover, very healthy profit. They're very generous. They've got a very strong CSR program with donating, I think it's 2% of their profits to causes. And you look at what they've done. They've just moved into an amazing new premises in Maidenhead. And it's surely an inspiration for other brands to say, well, hang on a minute. Currently, I'm employing me and my dog. Maybe I could be a Christopher Ward. And it's that kind of why not that is so inspiring. What we will hopefully see happening more and more of is more of our British brands starting to emerge. And I talked about France or horologery earlier. The French sector is really fascinating for me because I was thinking about 10 years ahead of where we would like to be. They've got 3 indigenous movement makers, and they've probably got 6 or 7 independent brands that are about the size of Christopher Ward. So they're bigger, they're wealthier as a sector collectively, but slowly but surely we're getting there. So as I say, we're now 114 brands. And then alongside that, we've built the club. Yeah. I'd just like to give a plug for that, if I may.
Please do.
The club, if you like, is best described. It's almost like the fan club for British watchmaking. It gives you inside track. Crucially, you get priority access to British Watchmakers Day, and it's free to come to British Watchmakers Day. But you get magazine subscriptions, Oracle Time, Watch Pro, Retail Jeweler, GMT, Europa Star. So subscription value vastly outweighs the subs, which are currently £55 a year, but we are reviewing that. So if your listeners are thinking about joining, may I just say now's the time, because it's going to get reviewed in the autumn. We've not put it up for 5 years since we started. So it's kind of...
Now's the opportunity then.
And we've got about 1,300 members worldwide in about 24 countries. Wow. So that's grown significantly over the last few years. And they're brilliant. We love we genuinely love our club members. I mean, Katya has an awful lot of interaction day in, day out with them. I think the great thing about our club members is they're not just looking at it as from a transactional perspective. Okay, I pay that. What do I get? I get my pin badge and my certificate and my subscriptions. But I think what they all get is a sense of, yes, I am supporting British watchmaking sector. I am actually part of the journey. And that's one of the reasons why we're so keen to try and provide this sort of inside track access to the sector, so that, again, it's just recognizing they're all part of British watch culture, whether they live in Britain or whether they're in Qatar or, as I say, aforementioned Costa Rica, across the USA. We've got many members in
Barcelona.
The ones that can be bothered turning up.
Yeah. Can see a running theme here.
From the other side of the world,
I never live it down, will I? After people from the States are coming across and I've not made it yet. So, yeah. But that's incredible to say, going back to those early days where you just thinking, okay, how many brands are there? 25, and now where you are today, that's incredible, and it's something what makes me feel quite warm inside being British, just knowing that there's this strong drive now within British watchmaking again, and I think that's a big thank you to you guys doing the Alliance. I think that's definitely pushing things forward and putting the spotlight where it deserves to be.
Well, thank you. And you know what's quite telling? When we were forming the Alliance, one of the things you do, I mean, it's like any business, you think, well, what domain name can we get? And it shows just how dormant it all was that we were able to secure BritishWatchmakers.com.
Wow, just like that.
Just like that. Yeah. I mean, it was just available. I mean, it didn't even require, it wasn't even a priority listing or anything, a premium listing. There was nobody sitting on it. I literally went in to one of the registration sites, tapped in BritishWatchmakers.com, and lo and behold, there it was, which is incredible. And may I just take a nod for actually, that was my clever way of weaving in what our website address is for people to get club membership.
Smooth, very smooth.
Very good. Well, we'll drop a link to that in the description as well, and in the show notes. Yeah,
of course.
Thank you very much, Tom. Yeah.
So I've got one question for both of you, very subjective to both of you. So what's your most favourite part of doing what you do with the British Watchmakers Alliance? Katya, do you want to go first? Alistair's had the floor for quite a while. do you want to tell us what your favourite bit is about doing this?
I do enjoy growing things quite a lot. So I was involved in this from the very beginning, pretty much. I mean, let's not forget it launched during lockdown, so it wasn't the easiest of starts. So I've kind of witnessed and obviously been involved and put lots of work into growing it. And it's almost like, it's like my own project, my own business. I know it isn't, but I treat it that way. I haven't felt like this always with the jobs that I've done or the projects I've been involved in. I care about it. So, if things need doing on Saturday, I do them because I do care. And I think that's what I enjoy most, is that feeling, which you don't always get when you're working somewhere. That kind of feeling of belonging,
connection
somewhere.
And being a part of yourself.
And caring about it. Yeah.
Okay. Alistair?
From my perspective, I just love being in a situation where you can come up with an idea and actually execute it. It's incredibly satisfying. And because we're such a small trade body in terms of numbers of people, there are no layers of bureaucracy. It's a case of get on a Zoom call or meet up with Mike and Roger and Katya and say, look, had an idea. What do you think about doing this? Yeah, that's great. And we get on with it. And I think that's incredibly satisfying. And I think the other one has to be, I love it when I meet a senior officer in government or a government minister, and I'm able to tell them about British watchmaking, and invariably they're surprised. And it's just so great to land the thought with them that there is this resurgent British sector and we need to be taken notice of. That's really, really satisfying.
I think I'll go back as well, that the people are just all so nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to Oracle Time event on Saturday. I can't wait to see Jose from Isotope or the Christopher Ward team, and a lot of the club members I'm sure I'll bump into. Just everyone is so, so nice. It's just a pleasure to work with people in the sector. It really is, whether they're watchmakers or collectors or podcasters. What's the word? Podcast makers. Yeah.
So from day one of concept, right, we're going to do this, what were your emotions like? And compared to 2025, end of the show, it's been a hit, or however you felt about it. What was your level of emotions at the beginning? Was it, the level of excitement and then the euphoria of delivering it? How different were those two emotions, or the level, the percentage, or, the ratio of that? Was it as exhilarating to come up with the idea and the excitement of the future, or delivering it and thinking, right, we've done it, we've done something that's just come from
I'm just always relieved
the ground
everything went well and going around the stands and collect the whiskies. That's what I do.
You got best job done.
Had some really nice this time round. Boken's got some really good spirits.
Yeah, there were people coming up to me. Go to Boken, they've got nice whiskey.
Yeah.
Okay.
If any club members need to know where good whiskies are, I know.
last
Okay,
year,
there you go.
Palm, I don't know if you remember, but at the end of the show, there was this spontaneous applause which happened, which was incredible. And Katya and I, we were both sitting in the storeroom, the kind of storeroom planning room, and we basically just flopped. I mean, we were so tired after the day, and we missed the applause. It was such a shame. We heard it happening.
Oh,
and it was a bit like, I don't know if you've ever had that thing of where you miss the New Year countdown or something, and you're sort of running to try and catch up to be there. So we heard this applause, and I think it was it really summed it up that we missed that because we were basically just collapsed in the storeroom. So
So what a great show! You guys deserve that round of applause. It's a shame you weren't there to hear it, but next year I'm sure hang about for a little while and a louder round of applause in 2026.
Well, we've already started planning. We'll put the work in and try and add a few more fun elements to it. And we've always asked for feedback from everyone. So if there's anything that we try and make it better, and try and fit more people in, and more brands as well. So we'll always try and improve it and make it better. You know, we don't just relax at, oh, that was great, you know. There's always a worry that, you know, next one won't be as good. So we'll work hard to
I think
make it fun for everyone.
One thing we'd love to see more women in the sector collecting, enjoying the watches. I mean, there are so many great watches, I think, that can be appealing to women. And I think it would be really lovely to see British watch culture start to emerge with its own style and an ethos that really is embracing to have more women in there buying watches, enjoying watches. There's so many amazing products there. And I mean, you're a case in point, Katya, aren't you? I mean, really discovering the brands, and now you collect.
I've got quite a few British watches now. I remember working in the city in London for this investment bank, and I didn't have a watch. And I went in one of the, usual stores, and I just couldn't find what I like. We all like different things. And then also, of course, you want a selection of watches. So one works with, an evening dinner, and another one with so on. If you're running, there's a different watch. But I just couldn't see what I liked. And then when I got involved with Alliance, I said, oh my God, there are so many amazing brands, so many different watches, and with different kind of price range as well. So you can afford quite a few. So yes, I have quite a nice collection now.
I think it can be a natural evolution. But again, when you talk about us all being stakeholders in British watch culture, yourselves, us, other collectors, the brands, I think it's a question to keep asking ourselves. And that is, how can we bring more women into British watch culture and make that a defining aspect of our sector? I don't see any reason why we can't do that. And I think we should do it. I'd also, the marketeer is telling me it doubles our market.
Yeah.
So,
well, there you go.
From that point of view, so I mean, there's a very good business reason for doing it, but I also think it would just enrich our culture so much.
It does. It would 100%. Because, as guys, we talk to guys all the time anyway, and especially about stuff that we're passionate about as well. You want to share that with everyone. You don't want to just
gets a bit boring sometimes.
Boring conversations and stuff.
An old man's club.
Exactly. Yeah. Basically, an old man talking about mechanical watches is not quite the same as a young, cool, hip, cosmopolitan kind of crowd.
I think,
but see, any ideas welcome. I think it's, as I say, it's a conversation we should be having, and I think we certainly welcome any ideas to help promote, and just keep talking about it. Spread the word.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think at the moment there is a bit more of a resurgence in, not particularly highlighting British watchmaking, but in general in the industry. There does seem to be more acceptance towards more feminine designs these days, which are turning into more unisex watches as well. Yeah. Like if you, I don't know if you've seen the new Frederick Constant, which is like a bangle style watch, and I think it was Tim Vox was rocking that one on Instagram, and it looked great on him, even though it's initially targeted towards women. So I think there is this kind of crossover now, where we're more progressive within the industry, and it's not like this is for him, this is for her. It's just these are the great watches you can get. And I think that's what gets everybody more involved, is this less of this divide and just more sharing the passion and not these particular rule sets, dividing. You've got to buy this. You're not supposed to wear this kind of thing. So I think that certainly helps.
Mr. Jones, I think, is an exemplar of that.
Yeah.
Andy. We have Katya particularly, has collected
I
some
love
Mr.
art,
Jones watches,
so Mr. Jones watch.
Oh, okay.
but they're interchangeable for us, aren't they? I mean, I'll wear one day, Katya will wear the same one the next day. I mean, it's there's no sense of his and hers. It is his and hers. There's no
There's none with Studio Underdog either.
No, exactly.
And fears, anybody can wear fears.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's even when you look at slightly larger dials as well. I mean, in a way, they can be made to look very funky on a small wrist. Yeah. It can work, So I think you're right. But I sense we might be at almost a tipping point, and it's as much about the brands creating products that can appeal across the genders that is going to help with that journey. But just to say, I mean, there are an awful lot of watches already being made by British brands, which I think can appeal across gender.
Certainly, yeah. It's just creating that awareness, I think, and having more females collectors shout about it as well and highlighting it to growing that part. Brilliant. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with that. My final question, and I fear I already know the answer to it, gauging from the information I've gained throughout the show. But my final question was around, would you ever consider taking the show on the road? So that would be, I don't know, for example, further up north in the UK, not that I'm biased or anything, or maybe heading to the US across the pond, or like doing an event in Europe. Like, do you have a vision, maybe not now, if it was viable in the future, to expand the show or maybe do a bit of a road show with the brands? Or would that just be an organisational and logistical nightmare to pull that off?
It's what Alistair was talking about, even going into a bigger venue, is with us being not for organisation. In time, when we grow, but we have to be quite careful and not overstretch ourselves as quite a small team. But, if we had the resource, that being both financial and the people, then that'd be very exciting to do.
It would. Yeah. It would. If you look at the evolution of the sector and stretching it forward, I mean, if I think about my original inspiration for British Watchmakers Day was Record Store Day. Now, Record Store Day is a day and date event which is across all the independent record stores in Britain. There's a version of British Watchmakers Day that might not be an event in 10 years' time.
Don't scare the people. 10 years time.
Exactly. But I'm just saying, I think that you've got to always look forward and think about where it could end up. And I think that the way British watch culture is growing, and you've got more and more brands now opening their own boutiques. You've got obviously what Time and Tide has done with their Discovery Studio. I think that what we'll see is an acceleration of that across Britain. I mean, as I say, we've got 113, 114 brands now. As we get this proliferation and more people start to collect watches and it continues to grow, you could find that there's a situation in 10 years' time where British Watchmakers Day, as I say, has maybe a hub event, but actually has satellites all over Britain. Not yet, and not for quite a long time. But I think you've always got to think forward.
In the future.
And similarly, Record Store Day is a global event. So could there be a situation where when you start to spread it to that extent, then you've got corresponding things happening in New York on that day, things happening in LA, happening in Dubai, partner retailers and events. I mean, that for me would be a huge success factor. We're not an event company. We're a trade body. Our goal is to build the sector, build the culture. And so you've got to be willing to look at any which way we can do that. And I mean, I think obviously we take great pride in British Watchmakers Day as an event, but I think you've got to be willing to think about where that could go ultimately and what's best for the sector.
Yeah, brilliant answers. So reassuring, so maybe watch your space, not right now, but in the later future, it could echo a little further afield, which I think that would be awesome, to be honest. To just the more awareness you can create, a big ripple effect you can create, then more people learn and get to experience these fantastic brands and watches. So yeah, fingers crossed, and I wish you all the luck on that happening hopefully in a very near future.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, and I think it deserves that as well.
Yep.
I think it. No, I think we are well over our time. Andy said to me, "How long do you think?" He said, "Well, 45 minutes." I go, 45 minutes normally means an hour and a half, but we could talk to you all evening because it's fascinating hearing about the show.
It's insightful.
And I'm so glad that you've talked Andy to come now. And for 2 years, I've been telling him to come, but now it took the organisers to get him to come to the next one.
Yeah.
This is the VIP service, is when we turn up. We're actually, funny enough, after this, we've actually got to go to Colchester to call on some people. We're just knocking at their door.
Yeah. Imagine if I don't come next year now, I'll be blacklisted. No watch brand from the UK will ever speak to me again.
Yeah, that's it. You'll be the big picture of this. Do not let
I'll
this
be on the
man
dartboard in
this
the corner
man is the
somewhere.
Anti-British Watch and Clockmakers Alliance. Yeah, right. But we do have to wrap it up now. I mean, again, like I said, it's been a fascinating chat. It's been it almost seems like we've only touched the tip of the iceberg, really, with what we wanted to know about the show and yourselves. We didn't really get to know much about yourselves, apart from Alistair not being a music producer back in the day, shall we say. But no, so next year, maybe we have you back on after the show again, and once the dust has settled kind of show, and do it again. Who knows? If you're available, that would be awesome. But it'd be great to see you again at the next British Watch and Clockmakers Alliance show. But as a member, I'm enjoying what you do, the certificate, the badge. The subscription to the magazines alone actually covers the membership fee, and the fact that you get free entry to the show as well. You're getting a lot of value for money with that, and you're basically getting more than you would have if you didn't. So once again, thank you so much. And Andy, do you want to see us out the show?
Alistair, Katya, thank you so much for your time and insight into their lines. It's been an absolute privilege to speak with you both. I hope we can do it again soon, and I'll definitely be there next year. So without further ado, I'll keep it short and sweet. So it's hasta luego, adios from Barcelona. Also, please make sure to check out the show notes. I don't think we need to save the site. You already know where it is by now. And yeah, I'll hand over to Palm to do his sign off.
And as Andy says, farewell from Barcelona in Spain. So as Alistair and Katya say goodbye from Suffolk, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners before you go?
Well, thank you very much for having us on the show, Palm and Andy, and we look forward to seeing you on the 7th of March at the next British Watchmakers Day, or sooner elsewhere at another show in London.
And if you haven't already, please do join our club at BritishWatchmakers.com. It's not just obviously the benefits, and we do really like to give value for money, but you're genuinely helping us to keep the lights on and do what we do. So thank you.
So from London, it's Toodle Pip and laters, and we'll see you, and you'll hear us in the next one.